the photos that have been shared with us from staff, faculty, and current and previous students, alumni of their times with Ms. Nguyen. Please feel free to look through these photos to remember all the lovely times in your memories. Thank you everyone for joining. We're going to stop sharing our slideshow so we can get started with our program.
Hello and welcome, Omnes. It's really special to be here in this virtual space together to celebrate the life of our dear Kimarlee Nguyen. She was the very best of us. She made each one of us feel so deeply connected, and she truly loved this community. It means so much to have current and former faculty, staff, discipuli, and alumni here with us today. Our purpose in gathering together is to celebrate Miss Nguyen's life and to remember her through her own writing and through our memories of her. We'd like to remind our discipuli that TBLS counselors are always available to talk to. And please know that an additional resource available to everyone here is NYC Well, 1-888 NYC Well. There will be TBLS discipuli and staff members who will read excerpts from Miss Nguyen's work, followed by others who will share memories of Kim. We'll then open the floor to anyone who would like to speak. I'll now pass it over to Maya-Len Richards, who will facilitate the readings.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will be introducing the people who will be reading her readings. The first person that we have is Fatima, reading an excerpt from The Ear of the Sky.
Across the room, on the bed closest to the door, Sita hugs herself into a tightly wound ball underneath her red blanket. When Sita is like that, curling her 5 foot body in on itself, it's easy to imagine her young, like someone's daughter, but her long hair is streaked through with white. Over the heater and the uneven toll of his breathing, she mutters mantras. When I first came here, I thought no one would keep up the old words, not after all that happened. But Sita did, and still does to this day. Underneath the blanket, bouncing off the window, her words crawl up my arm and circle his bowed head. She speaks in Pali, the old language. I can't follow along, but the words bring with them the heat of summer, the smell of incense, and the saffron robes the monks wore, all gathered in a line.
Thank you, Fatima. The next person who will be reading is Mr. Folk, and he will be reading an excerpt from And in Your Eyes, It Looks Like.
I apologize. I don't have the reading up right now. I think I'm going to fill in. Can I go to the end of the reading section and then I'll read that at the end, please?
No problem.
Thank you, Mylon.
The next person we have is Sade reading These Things and How They Go.
The boy with muscles and a heart-shaped scar under his chin taught me how to skip a rock, nice and smooth, with a flick of my wrist. He filled up my red solo cup with sea glass to give to me and traced his name with his fingers across the back of my neck. He said, "Girl, I love you." And I thought how nice it was to say something, anything, with such finality. After that long summer, his family moved, first to Idaho and then Wisconsin, sending me postcards that dripped green and brown. Then Alaska, Florida, upstate New York, and right outside St. Louis. And then so many other places afterwards that I lost track of not just where he moved to, but also of him. First, I couldn't recall the color of his eyes. Then it was his voice, and quickly, it grew to me, forgetting his hair, his hands.
Thank you, Sade. The next person we have reading is Mari, reading an excerpt from Love Story.
You wore a sarong your mother made you wear to Wat that day, and you kept wearing it because it was so beautiful, and beautiful things that belonged to you and you alone were few and far in between. The sun baked the bricks until walking was too painful, and you cried out that your bare feet were starting to bleed. But I knew then, like I always did, that you were lying. Out on the wall, we sat, and you swung your legs to kick water into the air. The spray of water and the sunlight created the illusion of safety, because when everything glimmers, it's hard to see anything else. When I think about youth, I picture you sitting there, the skin of your ankles brilliantly white against the hem of your pomegranate sarong.
Thank you, Mari. The next person is Becky, reading This Is a Story We All Know.
Between them, the slightest bit of hope, like the scattering of searchlights from the American airplanes, like the reflection of sunlight on puddles of napalm and sewer water hung suspended. The woman had eyes like a car's mother, eyes that saw too much before her time. A car began to weep. First silently inside a bit of heart she thought died a long time ago, and then with real tears, loud and angry. When we were little, we all used to stare when we saw people hugging. Our people just don't do that. Instead, a playful kick to the shins or a quick pinch to the arm was how we learned what affection between a parent and a child was. But the woman gathered Akara in her arms anyway. And in this gesture that was at once so foreign and so warm, Akara closed her eyes and thought of her mother, of her cousin, of her grade school teacher. "It's okay," the woman was muttering as her children looked on, unabashedly staring and trying to understand why their mother was suddenly hugging a stranger. "But I'm not," Akara wanted to say as she leaned into the woman's arms, tears flowing fast. "I lived your story. I did."
Thank you, Becky. The next person is Alina, reading If You Cut Me Open Right Now, This Is What You'll Find.
I regret so many things, not saying I love you when I should have, never learning to dance, not knowing that all the teachers would be killed, not eating so many sweets the New Year's before the war came because I didn't want to look greedy in front of the boy I loved, telling my sister that I was too old to play during the rainy season, never realizing that she would be the first in the family to die. Too much of a dreamer, my father said, to survive something like this. It wasn't always bad. I lean against the counter, stirring the pot with a big wooden spoon as the dog licked the floor, hoping for my shaky hands to benefit him once again. There was this time in Thailand after the Viet Cong came and freed the city, and I was sent away again to a refugee camp, and the sun was so hot, beating hot, and I realized that my mother, father, sister was dead, and also the boy I loved and maybe surviving means nothing if you can't take the ones who died with you when something pelted the top of my head, and like a miracle, a mango fell into my lap. When life gets real hard and the winters here get so cold that I feel my bones breaking and everyone in the house is screaming about stupid things that won't matter tomorrow, I tip my head back like this, right, and remember me, all bruises and anger, leaning back, just holding the mango to my nose, smelling all the good that is yet to come.
Thank you, Alina. The next person we have reading is Mr. Folk. And in your eyes, it looks like.
You are thinking to yourself that once this is all over, you will never wear beige again. For 14 years of your life, the same color, all the time, except for those 6 months where you were free and the world was technicolored and you wore every color you could think of. But now, here you are sitting in a waiting room in the second busiest airport in the nation, and though you can hear the people passing by, pressing against the window, walking by the door, you can't see them. In the waiting room, it's just you in your beige jumpsuit and an officer who introduced himself as Martinez. Unlike other officers, Martinez shook your hand and asked you your name. You think to yourself that maybe he sees you, like really sees you, past the jumpsuit, the government-issued shoes, and the sleeve of tattoos all up and down your arm.
Thank you to all who have, Thank you to all who have read. I will now hand it over to Naya, who will be the facilitator for Memories of Miss Gwen.
Thank you, Mylan. Like Mylan said, now we'll be moving on to Memories of Miss Gwen. The first person to share a memory is Annalicia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Annalicia, and today I'll be sharing a memory of Miss Wen. Miss Wen taught me British literature during my sophomore year. She was a very positive person because every morning she greeted us with smiles which would fill the room with happiness. I remember there were many rough days when I was going through a lot, and Miss Wen was there trying her best to cheer me up since I had her first period. Even the small things she did, like putting scented stickers on our completed homework, just gave us even more things to smile about. I always admired this about Miss Wen. She was very kind and cared a lot about her students. Because of this, I'm very grateful that I had her as a teacher. May her memory live on forever. Rest in peace, Miss Wen. Thank you.
Thank you, Annalicia. The next person to be sharing is Ethan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan. I graduated in 2019. I'd like to share a little story with you today. So the year I graduated, I gave the commencement speech at the graduation ceremony. And I remember it was about 2 weeks before I was supposed to give the speech. And I came into Miss Wen's room and I was freaking out. I was having like an anxiety attack. I started talking to her about I asked her if she had any time, and of course she did because she was always making time for us. And I was telling her, that I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know what I was going to say, and I was getting really worked up, and I remember thinking that she was going to say something along the lines of like, "Oh, like we picked you for a reason. Whatever you want to say is going to be good." But instead, she asked me a really simple question, which is, "What do I want to say?" And I thought about that, and we eventually started talking from there. And I started talking about what I wanted the speech to be about, and she let me just kind of she gave me permission to be messy and just kind of talk it out and figure things out like that. And I think about that question a lot. What do I want to say? Uh, and I think about how I don't really remember delivering the speech so much as that moment with her. And I think that I only knew her for a year. I had her in my senior year, but I think that question encapsulates her really well. I think that as an educator, she was always trying to let her students know that they had voices and that they were worth listening to, and that they were valued and appreciated. I'm studying English myself now, and I'm hoping, going into education. And I think about that lesson a lot. And I think about how she was always selfless and approachable and kind. And I never felt like I was judged or there was something I couldn't ask her if I was curious. She was a great writer, from what I can tell. And yeah, I think she was just a very selfless person, and I miss her a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. The next person to be sharing is Adnan.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say thank you for all that came. It really means a lot. Before high school, I was a very shy person. People from my middle school could really vouch for that. That shyness really affected me even up until high school. One of the events that really got me out of such a spot was the Odyssey scene night that we did for Mr. Nguyen's class. Before this, I never showed much emotion in things like in my deck, and I was nervous to speak during seminars. When practicing for my performance, I kept messing up and laughing, and I remember that I was scared of people laughing at my performance, and I was going to mess up. Mr. Nguyen told me things like, "Come on, don't mess up, that was good," and I even asked her for some advice after school. At the performance, I felt like I did pretty solid. I knew that Mr. Nguyen was proud of me. Fast forward to now, I'm running forums, I'm speaking and running student town halls, doing activities I'd never think I'd do. Mr. Nguyen was one of the few people that showed me the beauty of not caring about what other people think and going with the flow. I believe that this advice will help you not only advance at high school, but help you farther in life. Thank you all for coming, and may Mr. Nguyen rest in peace.
Thank you, Adnan. The next person to be sharing is Hengzi.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had Miss Gwen last year for British literature. Miss Gwen was always dedicated to her teaching and encouraging us to push farther in our learning. Whether it's in declamation, outside of school, or even reading short stories, Miss Gwen was always encouraging us to think better, look more into the details, and encourage us to keep going. Even till she kept encouraging us and her enthusiasm, even until the end of her life. Even when school closed down, she kept giving us feedback about our IB speeches. I had a friend who was failing a project, and he emailed Miss Gwen during the pandemic. And a few days before Miss Gwen's death, she emailed my friend back saying, "Good job, Dio." May Miss Gwen rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Hengzi. The next person to share is Mr. Folk.
Hi, thank you all for being here. It's so nice to be in this space with everyone, to see everyone. Just a quick memory that had been coming back to me this last week was, I know a lot of teachers here remember moments where we would stay late after school working in a room with Miss Nguyen or down the hall from Miss Nguyen, and what those like late afternoons could be like. And I'm just thinking of one time when we were writing recommendations together and had just said like, hey, we're going to stay here for a few hours and write recommendations. And I was kind of feeling a little bit of writer's block. And I realized that over like years of working with her and writing recommendations with her, I had never actually seen any of the recommendations that she wrote. So I was like kind of in a rough spot. I was just like, Kim, can I just take a look at something that you're doing? So I looked at, she showed me one of her recommendations and it was just amazing. It was like so well written, so engaging, like the level of detail and the word choice. It was like a work of art kind of piece of writing. And I was so engaged, wanted to learn more about the student. And it was just kind of this magical moment where you could see like her passion for writing, but also her love for her students kind of come together in the form of a recommendation. And I just had that memory of reading that piece. It felt like a writing piece, right? Reading that with her and being blown away and us talking from there. And I don't know, probably had ordered pizza or something as we were reading it. But just that moment really was standing out to me this week, how like she was able to, I don't know, just take her passions and her talents and her heart and her care and put that all together in the way she approached anything in life, even if it's writing a recommendation for a student. So that was my story.
Thank you, Mr. Folk.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna send a heart up and that'll be my end. All right.
The next person to be sharing is Angel.
Hi guys, I'm a senior. I never actually had Miss Nguyen as a teacher, so when she passed, that kind of, it felt numb, but I also felt like I didn't have as much space to talk about Miss Nguyen because I didn't have her necessarily as a teacher. But the more that I started thinking about it, I just started remembering the kind of encounters that I did have with her, even though she wasn't my teacher. And if you know me, I'm a really anxious child. Like, I'm always freaking out, especially at TBLS. And I used to be running through the hallways just like full of stress. And I'd always end up finding Miss Nguyen. And she'd be like, whoa, Angel, like, what's going on? How can I help you? What do you need? How can I be of assistance? And she would just like always like that. And it just, I used to feel like a exhale every time I seen her, whereas there could be teachers who that would be like, Angel, why are you in the hallway? Angel, you have classes to go to. And she wasn't concerned with that part. She was always trying to make sure that I was okay. And even though she wasn't my teacher, like, she had an impact on my life. She sometimes was the person that was able to help me get through the day. And I think that that was just like a good reflection of who she was and the impact that she had. I had another memory of her, and it wasn't necessarily just a conversation she had with me, but I was with, I think it was Miss Mogalescu, and she came in right before a climate change protest that was going on in the city, and she was just gushing about one of my classmates who was doing a speech, and she just like, the way she was just so passionate about my friend and what my friend was doing, and you could just really tell she really cares about all of us. And she was just so happy and just so like, every time I seen her, she had bright clothes on, smiling, laughing, joking. And that's how I see her when I remember her. And I'm just, it feels kind of weird that she's gone. It doesn't feel like she passed. It feels like she's just not here. She wasn't old. She wasn't like a sad, like grumpy person. It just, she was so full of life. And I just wanted to talk about that. So yeah, may she rest in peace.
Thank you, Angel. At this time, if there's anybody else who would like to share a memory, you can raise your hand in the chat and we'll call on you. Sorry. Nishida, if you would like to share.
So when I had Miss Nguyen, I remember something happened to me during class, and I had to go to the nurse or whatever, and I had to come back, and it was like an embarrassing situation. And like I suspected Miss Nguyen to like not even comment about it or just overlook it. But like, you know, she just like came up to me and she was like, "Are you okay? You know, this is a normal thing. You shouldn't feel ashamed, you know, if you want to talk about it." And I never thought like, oh, you know, like when I heard, I was like, yeah, it's whatever, you know, like doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know why she's so concerned about it. And then I was like thinking about how, like, that's the thing, like, you don't really meet people who like concern about these little things or who make you want to look at these little things more. She makes you and like a lot of kids in our class want to feel more human, and she wants us to ask for more. So when she gave me that comfort and sympathy over that small thing, it was like, wow, it was like, I don't know, I never thought I needed it. So yeah.
Mylan.
Yeah, I have a couple of stories. So I know someone already mentioned the stickers, but I just want to kind of repaint our daily kind of energy going into her classroom. So we would all like rush into her classroom, sit down, because I think she would say something like, the first group to sit down, you get stickers, or I'll come to your table first and you get stickers, you get your pick of the newest, you know, I just ordered these on Amazon. These smell like blueberries or something. And we were competitive. We were like, oh my gosh, mine smells better than yours. Oh, you didn't get that one, haha. Like it was a competition. And I feel like she was the only one who could like foster an environment like that, which was competitive over something so silly and fun. And another memory I have was her hoop earrings. Like, I remember I used to wear hoop earrings. Well, I mean, I still wear them, but like, I used to wear hoop earrings to her class. And I realized like we had the same earrings. And I was thinking before school's closed, I was like, we need to be matching. Like, I'm going to come the next day and I'm going to have my earrings and we're going to be matching. And it was kind of sad because after she passed, I was like, I never got to do it. Like, and it really hit me. Like, yeah.
Thank you, Mylan. Elena.
Hi. I wanted to share just like a bunch of little memories that I've had of Miss Gwen. I had the privilege of being taught by her in sophomore year. And she was someone who never let you walk away without a smile on your face. And like Angel and Annalicia had mentioned, she could sense this, if there was any like sort of sadness that you had, or like you were carrying this like negative energy, she could automatically like tell, okay, something's wrong, I'm going to do something about it. You know what I mean? And there were a bunch of moments where I would be upset walking through the hallways and she would like be talking to other teachers and telling them like, oh my God, like I love her, she's so cool, like whatever, all this, whatever. And she would always just make me feel loved. And things like little things, like if I said I was hungry in class, she would automatically like pull out like a snack or something to eat. And it's just like, so there are so many memories I have of her just making me feel like I was special and making me feel like I was loved. And the last time I saw her was in her classroom, and obviously she was getting excited over decorating her laptop cart, and she was putting a bunch of stickers on it and whatever. And I remember that day she gave me a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle sticker, and I keep it on this box and I use it every now and then. I look at it and I think of her, and that's just kind of how I like to keep her in my memory.
Chloe.
Yeah, so I had Miss Gwen sophomore year, and it was a really hard year for me. And I had her first period, and every morning I would, or some mornings I would come in really upset. And I was a transfer sophomore, so I was really new to the school. And immediately I found a group of friends, and they were in that class, and she noticed, and she would always put me with at least one of them in every single seating chart that she ever made. And she would always give me stickers, like she said. I actually even started a sticker club with her, and it didn't last very long because of scheduling issues, but those were like the most fun times I ever had, those meetings. And I remember at the end of sophomore year, I did not want to not have her as a teacher anymore. I was literally begging her to like teach juniors. I was like, please, like do something. I can't not have you as a teacher. And it was the last day of school. And the teacher I was going to have next year, Miss Mogulescu, was in there, and she's like, no, like you're going to love Miss Mogulescu. Like I've already talked to her about you. Like you guys are going to love each other. And she introduced us, and I was like so embarrassed because I was like begging her to not let me not have her as a teacher. And at the same time I was meeting that new teacher. And I feel like that really like encapsulated who she was. Like she was so bright and like so encouraging all the time, and embarrass you a little bit sometimes. She would like yell at me all the time for wearing a skirt in the winter. She felt like sometimes like a second mom to me, or a first one. And she was a really important person in my life. Thank you.
Ethan.
Yeah, hi. One story that really strikes out to me was during the winter concert 2 years ago. So it's the winter of 2019, and I bombed my performance. I did so badly, and I just like I just did horribly. And of course, I felt this wash of shame over me. And I was just like, I was scared and angry at myself. And of course, I saw Miss Nguyen still in her classroom. So I just preemptively went inside her class so I can tell her I'm sorry for how bad I did and all that stuff. But she was at the table sitting down, and I just like started talking to her about how badly I did. And she just gave me silence so I can talk about how much more I could have done. And it was so refreshing to not have that pain after a performance like that. And that was mainly due to her silence and her care and her comfort, the overall vibe that she brought out when talking to her. And I promised her that the next time you see me perform, I'm gonna shine. I'm gonna be the best performer, be the best trumpet player that you have ever seen. And I'm gonna make sure to keep that promise. But yeah, she was just an amazing teacher.
William.
So I remember one of the first spaces when I entered TBLS when I was a freshman was ASA, the Asian Student Alliance. And during the time that when I entered ASA, it was like a really hard time because I was trying to figure out what's my culture, what's my identity, what's who I am. And when I entered ASA, it was just, I was really scared at that moment because it was just little freshman me. Like, who do I become friends with? Who do I speak with? Are there any other freshmen like me? But I just always remember Miss Nguyen sitting there and just speaking out. And Miss Nguyen was so passionate about the Asian American culture and the Asian American identity, and that whether one meeting was about poetry or another meeting was about our own experiences or another meeting was just planning out, having fun food, talking about our culture, Miss Nguyen just helped me understand more about my culture and my identity. And she taught me to always remember my roots, to always remember who I am. And she's literally like one of the people who made me love who I am. She's one of the people who I can say thank you to in this world. And that her passing has reminded me that I love who I am because of her, and that her love for the Asian American culture, for people like us, for what's going on in the world right now, that we need more people like Miss Nguyen in the world to give out the same love.
Mo.
I graduated in 2017, and I had her as a sophomore, like a lot of y'all did. And in my sophomore year, I was one of the students who really struggled with sophomore year. Some of the teachers here can remember that I was failing their classes, and I barely scraped by, but I had Ms. Nguyen R9, and having her classes at the end of what were often really difficult days just made it so much easier to deal with what was going on, that was how I ended my day. And I was absent a lot. I got sick a lot. Turns out I have an autoimmune disorder, but I have all these emails that I've sent to her about being absent, and I was so apologetic. And every single time she would just be so supportive and be just so kind. And back then, this would have been like 7 years ago, I had my name on my email wasn't Mo Barbier, because that was my surname back then. But it was Mo Baggins. And so she called me Mo Baggins, and I called her Miss Gamgee. And she also introduced me to Ocean Vuong, who's I did a declamation from Ocean Vuong's book of poetry. Night Sky with Exit Wounds, All Bad with Burning City was the poem that I chose. And I don't think I could have done as well in junior year as I did without her. I had so much encouragement from her. And I had encouragement from all my teachers, but I just remember her laugh filling up the room. And I've moved to Montreal since then. And I'm barely ever back in New York, but every time I came back, I would make sure to visit TBLS to see my teachers. And she was always one of the first teachers I would visit. And I'm really sad that I'll never get to visit her again. But I love her so much.
Ms. Ushangi.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry. Just after listening to a lot of what you all have said, it obviously reminds me of all of the good times that Miss Nguyen shared with us, the brightness that she shared with us. A lot of what someone had, or what William was saying is a lot of also what I wanted to say. So Miss Nguyen was this bright and wonderful person, but she also had such a strong fire. She was a fighter. She always stood up for what was right. And I appreciate all of the things that I was able to relate with her about, especially being of our specific backgrounds. Even though, we have very different lineages, we do share a lot of similar family type of trauma, just based on our ancestors. And especially now, because things are so bad. I mean, things have always been bad, but I didn't realize that, she was my person at TBLS that I could talk to about those things and actually relate to someone at that level. Because I feel like that, for me, I have, for certain things within my life, it's really hard to relate to certain adults based on my environment. And Miss Nguyen was able to provide me with a space to talk about those things. And I didn't realize that until just listening to everybody talk. And I now more than ever, I wish that she was around, for so many reasons I want her to be around, but also to have somebody to have certain conversations with that I know that she could have with me because of her perspective and because of everything that she's lived through and because of her knowledge of her history and her knowledge of where she came from. When she talks about know your roots, her knowledge of her roots is so deep. And I think that knowledge also makes her so bright. That's why she's so able to relate to all of us and make us feel so comfortable, because she understands where she comes from and she knows how cruel the world can be and how unfair it is and how all of us deserve to be here. All of us are humans. All of us deserve to be loved. And because she understood that so well, she was able to give that to all of us whenever she was around. I miss her a lot. And I'm so sad that her story was cut short. She had so much more to offer to all of us. She had so much more to learn about herself and about just what she could give to the world. And it's not fair that she was taken away from all of us, as well as like her own life like was taken away from her. I hope that when we remember Miss Nguyen and all of the joy she brought us, let's also remember the fire she had inside and the fight that she had for what's right, because that it was something that she was definitely passionate about, and I appreciate and miss her for that.
Rebecca.
I also had Miss Gwen in sophomore year, like most people, and I think Chloe mentioned this before about how she and Faria started a sticker club, and I was also part of that. And I remember there was this one time Mr. Thomas came in and he was like, "This isn't an official club. We hadn't registered it yet," and so we were literally about to like disband on our third day, and she was like arguing with him like, "No, I'll take care of it. Just leave it alone." And it was like, I was just surprised because I was like ready to just like give up in that moment, because it's like, it's a sticker club. It's not necessarily something that she needs to fight, for about, but she was like so serious about it. And I just found that so funny. And, even though it was just a sticker club, she took our ideas and our passion so seriously, even though it was just about stickers. And it always just felt nice that it felt like she was on our side, regardless of whatever it was about. And it reminded us, she let us know that we didn't have to, grow up so fast and be in such a rush to, graduate and get on with our lives. She allowed us to go at our own pace, and it was just really nice to have that space with her where we could just slow down and just have that time to talk. And sometimes she would just stay late in studio office hours with me, Miss O, and a bunch of other visual arts kids, and just talk about our artwork. And she'll make me pose with my artwork and just take pictures of it, and it just made me it made me feel like there was someone that was proud of me for what I was doing. And it was it's just really upsetting to think that, I won't be able to at least get a picture with her for graduation, which sucks a lot. But I'm glad that I was able to meet her and that she was able to impact so many people here. Thank you.
Chloe.
Hi everyone. Sorry. I graduated in 2018, and I was trying to think of over the course of since graduating, I've been trying to think of if I have any memories of high school, and I have none. I don't have any memories of high school. But the ones that I actually do have, Miss Nguyen is often in them, and one that I remembered very vividly is from my sophomore year of high school, when I also had Miss Nguyen. And I know for a lot of people, sophomore year was horrible just in general. And for me, it was the same. And there was one day where I had stayed behind after a club meeting, and Miss Nguyen and I, for some reason, was the only student there, and I was visibly upset. And Miss Nguyen, like a lot of you have shared already, was quick to comfort me. But her comfort was never the one that felt like she was condescending. In that moment, I remembered she asked me why I was even insecure about that thing I was insecure about. And but she always took it very seriously. And I think for a lot of high schoolers, and specifically even our Asian students at TBLS, we were very accustomed to having adults diminish what we were experiencing in that moment because we were teenagers. And she never did that. And also, as a graduate of TBLS from a long time ago now, I just want to say I'm very sorry for those who graduated last year, that you lost out on more memories with her, because she was really great. And yeah.
Miss Glazier.
Hi. So first I want to say, Mo, I remember that declamation and it was so beautiful. And I do remember just bragging all about it all over the place because it was just so special and it really meant a lot to her. So I'm glad you shared that memory too. It's a good one for me as well. I came back to school last year, a little bit later in the year because I was on leave. And I remember thinking, like, how am I ever going to get to know these students? It's so weird. Never going to be able to, like, have any relationships with them. And I remember, Miss Nguyen and I shared, well, she had her 9th period class in my classroom and locker duty. And I was, it was one of my classes and one of her classes that had lockers in there. And I'm thinking, I'm never going to know these students. And then just like student after student would just drop their backpack or sit down at the table that we were sitting at, or like come and just like spill their guts to her, and like tell them every story about everything that happened in the day. And I felt like just so incredibly lucky to even like have that access point to be able to like participate in those conversations in any way. And for her to like just give me that opportunity to also get to know these kids, because like the amount of love, like even if they just did something silly, they like came in and wanted to talk to her about it. They wanted to give her food. They wanted to give her stickers. And like, she would just sit there and we would just talk about the end of our day. And then like, kid would just drop by and just join our conversation. And it felt so great. Yes. It just felt like such a wonderful thing, talking about books, talking about what they had just read. And it just felt like such a wonderful and sort of selfish opportunity for me to just sponge off of her awesomeness. But I think about that a lot, sitting at my desk and her sitting at that front table, and just like, I see that like that picture of her almost all the time. And I just like, I can't believe that that's the end of that. But thank you all for, coming and sharing this moment.
Mason.
So I, like many other people, also had Miss Nguyen sophomore year. And I was not a very big fan of English class. It was not my favorite subject. And it was something that I really, really struggled with. And that was not something that I had very well. And I also started off my sophomore year. About the second week of classes, I got a concussion that took me out for a month. And any time that I had a question or a concern or just anything, even if I was just having some troubles with friends or I was stressed about an assignment for another class, she always made time to speak to me no matter what was going on. And junior year and senior year, even when she wasn't my English teacher, I was still able to go and talk to her and ask her a silly question and just enjoy her presence. She truly made time for all of us. And I will really miss walking into her classroom.
Mr. Baker.
Miss Nguyen and I started at TBLS at the same time, and every memory that I have of her is filled with laughter, and usually me laughing. We would always be the late night crew. It was me and Miss Nguyen and Miss Mix Martin and Miss Shangi. And I discovered very early on that I couldn't stop by the teacher's lounge if Miss Nguyen was in there, because it would add an hour to whatever time I wanted to leave, because we would all just be sitting there laughing. She'd be telling us about her day and about her students, and I would get no work done, but it would be amazing and hilarious. And every time I want to change topics now or stop someone, I have to catch myself from saying, okay, pause, because that was her catchphrase. And the other thing that I will always remember from Miss Nguyen is that, especially the last couple of years, she was always very intent on getting all of the teachers together for social events. And she was like, hey, do you think everyone want to go to this concert? Do you think everyone will go to see this movie? Do you think everyone want to go to this barbecue? Do you think everyone want to go? Every time you saw her, she had new plans that she was trying to make for all of us to get together. And the idea of being best friends with all of us at once was really important to her, especially Mr. Lau. when she would just like awkwardly sneak into our meetings to grab some candy, even though we were clearly talking about stuff that was important. She would just be like, "You don't see me," and then she'd grab candy and run. Those are the memories that I will always have for Miss Nguyen, because she was ridiculous, but in the best way.
Riva.
Hi, I'm Riva. I graduated. I was the class of 2020. And like a lot of people here, I had Miss Nguyen for sophomore year of school. And I actually, even though I didn't have her junior year, I also had her senior year. And throughout my time in TBLS, she was just one of those people who always made you laugh and always made you smile. And if you thought she didn't have the same interest in you, you were probably wrong, because she probably liked the exact same things you did. And I have a lot of fond memories of her in class and even after school. I was a part of ASA, and I used to run errands for her, which I know sounds really weird, but I used to help set up her classroom. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but like all the new lights in her room, I did those. And I used to spend a lot of time with her after school putting up the English, the bulletin board, I think, with all the class of 2020 work and the other grades from that year. I helped make that, and I spent a lot of time with her and got to know her pretty well. And like many others, I also had a really hard sophomore year of school. I lost someone very important to me, and my teachers actually came together and wrote a card for me, which was really nice. And I remember Miss Nguyen's message was so thoughtful and so nice, and I won't share it for time's purpose, but I just remember her being so aware and so kind. And one memory that I have that is so distinct is that my last declamation I ever had in school, I'm pretty sure we were probably supposed to have more, but our time got cut short. And my technical last declamation was in history, but it was so bad that we're just going to forget about that. But my English declamation, I had to do after school because there wasn't enough time in class. And it was a piece by Kimarlee Nguyen. It was called Haunt Me. And I was one of the last few people to go. And I start declaiming. And all the time while I'm declaiming, I notice like in the corner of my eye that Miss Nguyen is like reaching for tissues. So I start getting alarmed while I'm declaiming, but I tried to finish. And when I did, I realized that she was like tearing up, and I got so nervous. I totally forgot to be like, thank you. Like I went over to her and I was like, oh my God, Miss Nguyen, are you okay? And I started knocking things over by accident. And she was like, Riva, we both can't be a mess. You like, one of us needs to be okay right now. And I just remember that she was so proud of me. And she said that that was the best declamation I'd ever given in class. And she was just so special. And like everyone said, she had such a way of making you feel like, you know, you were worthy of like being there and like being a student, especially in such a hard school. And so like, I miss her a lot, and I'm really glad I got to know her in the time that I did. And I'm so grateful for that. And I hope wherever she is, I hope she's at peace, because she's one of the very special people that deserves it.
Thank you to everyone who shared and for everybody who wants to share. I'm going to be passing the mic to Mr. Tomas.
Thank you, Naya. It's so great to see all of you. Thank you for coming to this. I see that we have a few more hands up, and then we're going to actually have to start wrapping up shortly. So after Tenzing is probably going to be our last one, mainly because we have the Skipley and McGee in the building, and then we're not supposed to be there too much longer after. So that's it. Thank you for these amazing memories. It's just incredible, for sure. So Naya, go ahead and call the next person.
Okay. The next person is Anissa.
Hi everyone. I also graduated in 2018, like Chloe. I had Miss Nguyen my senior year, but I don't think I realized how much of an impact she had on me until after I graduated. She was really always like the light in the room, and she definitely cared about her students, and she was always understanding about what we were going through. Because I remember in my senior year, I lost somebody that was very important to me in my life, and I always thought that like English and just like having to read multiple books was always going to be a toll on like my mental health and just, you know, how do you care about school when you're dealing with grief and everything. And she was just always very understanding about that. And she always had a smile on her face. She always wanted to make her students laugh. One of the things that I always think about is how she would always make fun of me for leaving her class last because I'd always like pack all my things away in a specific order. If anybody knew me, like I always did that in school. So she always made fun of me because she'd be like, I bet you Mr. Portalis is mad at you. Like, why you always come in this class late? And it was just like an inside joke between us. So I think about that a lot when I think about her memory. And it's always nice to see that, like, it's also nice to see that like she was such a like a passionate like writer, and you could see that it went to how she cared about her students and how she approached English and everything. And I don't take her memory for granted. Even though I only had her for like a year, she definitely left an impact on me. I remember seeing her in January before she passed away, and when I went to visit, and I never thought that was going to be the last conversation that I had with her. But when I did, she asked me about how college was, and she just basically gave me advice on how like I could just be more engaged and be more active, which was something I was struggling with, and she helped me with that. And honestly, I'm just grateful that like I knew her, and it's wonderful seeing like all the people that she's impacted, and you know, just letting her memory be known is something that's really beautiful. May she rest in peace.
Becky.
I think this entire time I've been trying to listen to what people have been sharing and also think about what I wanted to share, and I don't want to take up too much space. But I graduated class of 2019, and I think throughout my entire high school experience, Ms. Nguyen has always been there. So I had to go through the summer discovery program, and she taught me before I even was officially at Brooklyn Latin. I had her my senior year of high school, and I feel very lucky to have been able to have so much time with her. But at the same time, I feel like there were so many times, especially right after hearing the news, that I felt like I took her presence for granted. I know that, like, especially during graduation, I was like trying to like really figure out like find people to take pictures with. It was like a very chaotic moment, and I feel like this happens all the time where I like regret not really asking her. Like I didn't get to get a picture with her during my graduation day, and I think part of it was I was like, no, like I'm definitely gonna see Miss Nguyen again. And I did go visit her January of last year. But I think I always think back to that moment. Miss Nguyen has impacted my life really heavily. And every time I think about the Asian American women experience, especially now that it's becomes a big conversation, I think about wanting to have that those kinds of conversations with her. Just like what Mr. Shangu is saying, just like with what William had brought up. Like last semester, I took an Asian American pop culture class, and she was the person that I thought about talking to about all the things that I've been reading. A couple weeks ago, when there was the Georgia shooting, I thought about her and thought about wanting to have a conversation with her about what it's like, and if she could just create space. And I don't know, there's a part of me that's also like, I'm glad she's not here to see all the pain. But yeah, I really appreciate this, and it's been really lovely to hear about everyone's memories. And I feel like I didn't do myself justice, and I didn't do her justice, but yeah, I'm just gonna stop.
Erica.
I know we're kind of running out of time, but really quickly, I was never her student, but I was really involved with ASA with her and like Mr. Mill and everybody like when it first began. And I spent so much time in her room and so much time with her just talking about like life experiences. And like, I think she was the first woman, but also like Asian American woman, Southeast Asian woman to really like see me and like, I'm so sorry, but like, I don't know, like appreciate all the things that I went through. And I think she was the first person I could actually fully be myself around and like explore the things that I cared about that, you know, about family, about community. And she really taught me what it meant to not make yourself feel small because, you know, when you're like in high school, you always want to make yourself small. You're always really insecure about everything. But she made me feel like I was capable. And I remember when I got like my first college acceptance, we were like screaming and crying. And she was the one who really encouraged me throughout that process. And to this day, I don't think that I'd be the person who I am without her. And it gets really hard thinking about how to go on with life as like a woman of color or as like a first gen person. And I always think about the fact that like she did it. She was making her voice known. She was bringing so much joy to everybody around her and had such a powerful voice. And I remember reading like her work kind of like after I graduated, because you know you Google like your teacher sometimes, and I just remember being like, oh my gosh, she's so like damn talented. And I remember being like, she's the coolest person that I know, and I'm so lucky to have known her, and I'm so lucky not to really like have her as a teacher, but almost as like a mentor and a role model. So yeah, that's it.
Mia.
Well, I'm also part of class of 2020. One of my most favorite memories with Miss Nguyen was during one of our English writing sessions. We were in the computer lab and I was really confused as to how I would analyze my essays because I feel like that was my weakest strength. I mean, not weakest strength, my weakest point of writing. And I remember going up to her and asking her for help. And she said something that made my head automatically click with like how to analyze things. And I think looking back at that moment, especially going to an engineering school where a lot of kids don't like to write, my teachers find it funny that, oh, I'm always enthusiastic about writing. And it would partly be because of Miss Nguyen and how she always encouraged me on how to write well and how to write in a specific format. I feel like she has a really big influence on how I write. And I hope her work continues to influence other people and how they write as well. Rest in power, this one.
Okay, the next person is Zoe.
Hi everyone, my name is Zoe. I graduated last year. I had Miss Nguyen my sophomore year and my senior year, and my experiences in high school were really different compared in those two different years. So my interactions with Miss Nguyen were really, really different. I'm actually in school now studying to become a high school English teacher as well. And I take a lot of inspiration from her, and she's one of my biggest role models because the way she would speak about her students, the way she spoke about everyone and everything, she had so much passion for everything, whether it be her stickers, her washi tape, her students, her work, everything. She always, you could feel how proud she was of everything that she's she had. And I remember this one time, it was our first declamation in senior year. And I stayed after school to talk to her, whatever. And the way she spoke about every student's declamation, she had something nice to say about every single student. And she would go on and on about how proud she was of this student and that student. And I remember now that she was talking about a student from her Art 8 and how his piece made her cry, which it's never happened before, and how touched she was and whatever. But I hope to be as good of a teacher as Miss One in the future. There was something about her where you saw her face and you just instantly felt comforted. She reminded me that it's okay to take breaks, that there was something to be proud about yourself all the time, even when it felt like, you're not doing anything right. But I'm really glad that I got to have Miss One. I'm really glad that, the time that I spent with her has been nothing but positive. And to this day, I hope that she'll live in my heart and our hearts all together.
Tenzing.
Hello, can you guys hear me? All right. I'm also a graduate of the class of 2020, and I had Miss Nguyen senior year of my high school experience. And truth be told, I wasn't really a good student. Especially I had her R1, and I used to come in late, fool around in class. And I remember she used to always, call me out, pick on me. She used to be like, "Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?" And I always, at the moment, I was like, "Oh my God, I don't like this class. I don't like this teacher." But then in the middle of the semester, I asked her out of frustration. I was like, "Why are you always picking on me? Why are you like singling me out?" And she said, I single you out because I know you could do better. And that really stuck with me, because she was pushing me, even though it was painting her as like a strict teacher. She always tried to push me to become my best self. And then after hearing that, it really opened my eyes, and I started to try and do better in class. And then after that, our relationship got a lot better. I used to hang out after school. Let's say I'm going to a basketball practice, I used to hang out by her office, talk to her about basketball. She used to love the Celtics, and it was just a great moment. And after I got the email about I got the sad news, it was just, I just felt bad, because I thought I wasn't a good enough student to like really honor her, because I felt like I didn't do her teaching and her ways of bettering people justice. And ever since then, I'm always trying to be my best self, and because of her and all my other teachers, I've become a way better student in college than I am in high school. And I'm really thankful to her for that. And rest in peace.
Eden.
Hello there. If you didn't see me break down crying earlier, that's why my voice sounds strange. God, there's so many things I could say about Miss Nguyen, but I know we're already trying to wrap up. And yeah, like everybody else, she was just the most supportive person to me. And like everybody else, I also had a really bad sophomore year. I used to always be so apologetic, particularly in senior year, to all of my teachers, because I would just be bouncing off the walls, and I knew I could do better. And it was for what I now know is ADHD, which I didn't have diagnosed at the time. So I was so anxious, and I was so mad when I didn't get things right. And but having her R9 English, in senior year, it was like the one place where I had solace, because she'd allow me to bounce off the wall, because we'd talk a lot. And she really loved anime, And we were going to have this debate over our favorite anime because it was the same show but two different versions. And I was like, no, this version is better. And she's like, how could you say that? And we never did have that debate. And Miss Nguyen was the last person I talked to before school shut down. We were going to talk about, because school shut down on a Friday, and we were going to talk about something on Monday. She was like, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it when we get back. And we never got the chance to talk about it. And, one thing I find really fitting, although there are so many moments, like her calling us her pod of whales, even though we wanted to be a pride of lions. She would name us after animals or give us extra credit if we sent her pictures of baby animals. But the one thing that stands out was we read this book called The Paradise of the Blind. And it's about this woman surviving after the Vietnamese War. And I was like, I want to talk about the Cambodian genocide. I want to talk about the Cambodian genocide because we didn't get to talk about it in history class. And she was like, Eden, a lot of my family members died in that conflict. Like, why do you talk about it with such excitement? And I looked at her and I was like, a lot of my family members died in Cuba. And I loved talking about it in history class. And I looked at her and I was like, don't you get it? People live on through memories. People live on through talking about them. That's how a culture lives. And that's how an individual lives, is through other people carrying on their legacy, even if it's a really painful legacy. And I think about that a lot because that's what we're doing right now, is keeping her alive through talking about her, even if it's not in a physical setting. And she was always the person that I would vent to, and sometimes she would vent to me. I remember people were really misunderstanding a book once, and I sat her down and I was like, hey, you're not a bad teacher. They're just missing the point. And there's a way to explain it to them that we're both missing out. And so we sat and she was like, okay, I know what to do now. And I think about how proud she was to be a Buddhist and celebrate Buddhist culture. And, in Buddhism, death doesn't really exist. If you, live your life in an enlightened way, you get to live on, and your life is sort of this wave in an ocean. And, you don't know where the water goes once it crashes down. You don't know where you're going to go once your part of the wave dies. But you got to be appreciative for just seeing the wave as it happened. And I am so emotional and so appreciative for seeing the wave that was Miss Nguyen's life. And April 5th is such a weird date for her to have died because it's a day that she wanted me to declaim because she just loved this declamation I made. And it's the one thing I kept from TBLS, is the rubric that says 100, and in her handwriting it says, I wish I could have recorded that. And I wish I could have recorded so many moments with her. But yeah, I'm not gonna keep you all, but just be grateful that we got to witness this incarnation of Miss Nguyen. And I'm sure whatever it is that she reincarnated into, she's grateful for having all of us in that past life. And like Miss Nguyen, I talk a lot, so I'm gonna stop now. I love you guys very, very much.
John.
Hi, I graduated class of 2020 and I had Miss Nguyen my senior and sophomore years. Just one thing that really stood out to me just from being here is that I kind of forgot how much of a family TBLS was, and that like all the people that are here right now. So I'll try to I just wanted to say that never take what you have for granted, and that we're all part of a community, and then we all really should just love each other. For a lot of my time in high school, I spent my time sort of trying to get the work done and engage with the teacher, but never really like blossomed that relationship. But and that's just like a really one big regret that I have. I always just wanted to show Miss Nguyen that her hard work was paying off, and that I was really getting something out of that class. Now it's just been hard. I'm sorry.
Wasif.
Hi everyone. My name is Wasif. Graduated class of 2019. I just want to say I appreciate everyone's experiences that they're talking about with Miss Nguyen, and I would like to share some of my experience and talk about her legacy as well. I personally did not have Miss Nguyen as a teacher, but hearing from you guys who did have her as a teacher and those who did not, you guys felt really touched by her presence and her whole atmosphere. I actually had Miss Nguyen as my conclave teacher in my sophomore year, and I would remember those Tuesdays and Thursdays that I had conclave with her, where she would just like before the conclave started, she would just to go over the rules and everything, and she would always say, "Please do not bother me, because my seniors' analyses were really bad," like in a joking manner. And I also remember one day that me and my friend George, we were being a bit rambunctious that day, and she called me out in class. But instead of her way of punishment was pretty different. She actually made me do a declamation spot check in the middle of conclave because we were having declamation sophomore year, because she was a sophomore year English teacher at the same time, but she did not catch me lacking. But in the greater depths of things, Ms. Nguyen's atmosphere was very amazing, very gracious. I remember in her room, like her room is like full of colorful stuff. She has like pop figures covered in her room. I know during Lunar New Year, she would decorate her whole room, and the lanterns and everything is very beautiful. And one thing I just want to say is keep your loved ones close, because you don't know when they're going to be gone. And, appreciate everything you have in life, because you don't know if you're going to be gone soon or someone else is going to be gone soon, because those things never come back. Thank you.
Okay, now we pass it over to Ms. Dunn.
Thank you so much. It feels incredibly meaningful to see so many alumni here, and I was kind of unprepared for the way I was going to feel to hear all of you share these stories. Miss Nguyen and I planned the sophomore English class together for 7 years, I guess, and we were sort of like a yin and yang. Like I'm the anchor and she's the balloon, I think. In that, like, I was always kind of like, okay, like this is the work that we have to do. This is the agenda for the week. And she was like, can't we have like a little bit of fun? And that's something that like was a real gift that she gave to me. And hearing these stories is like another gift that she is giving me now, is to remember that there's all these ways that the love that she put into each one of us is continuing, and that we have things that we have learned from her that are lessons that we pay forward every day. And so in that like tradition, I do want to just share that we have an award that we are giving for the seniors that we started last year. That is the Kimarlee Nguyen Memorial Prize for Creative Writing. And I just want to share the description of that award because I think it speaks a lot to who she was. This is a prize that will honor discipuli who demonstrate a belief in the power of writing to connect with others and to create change in the world. They see writing as an essential part of their own identity, and their enthusiasm inspires their peers to participate in our reading and writing communities. So in addition to the plaque for the prize, the senior who wins this prize will also receive a book that was special to Miss Nguyen. And that's a list that was curated from the English department, and also speaking with some of Miss Nguyen's other friends about the books that are special and important to her. So that is one way that love is continuing to live on. And thank you everybody for being here today. I'm going to pass things back to Naya.
Naya, the next speaker is Anastasia.
Okay. Yeah. Anastasia, if you want to share now.
I'm sorry, I know we're supposed to be done, but when John was talking, I'm sorry, I'm Anastasia, I graduated in 2020. Just when John was talking and when Eden was talking, I just realized that they're so right. I had Miss Nguyen in sophomore year, and she's one of those people that was really very disconnected. Oh, that's so.
Anastasia, we'll come back to you. Okay. Mr. Caputo.
Hey, everybody. I wasn't actually planning on speaking, but everything that's been shared has really generated a lot of memories in me. And I want to thank everyone who shared, because it's really beautiful to hear these words. Just something that I've been thinking about is that I was looking at some of the people who are joining in on this call, and I see Ms. Espinoza, and there were some others who were teachers at Bushwick Leaders, which was the first school that I taught at. And Ms. Nguyen was the other 9th grade English teacher at that school. It was the two of us who taught 9th grade English. And I've just been thinking a lot about how the start of my teaching career in New York, Ms. Nguyen was there. And at the end of it, she was gone. And it's this like very strange bookend for me, thinking about my growth and her growth and how they were intertwined in this very peculiar way. Something that took me years to kind of reconcile with was that she and I butt heads very hard in those first 2 years of my teaching. And I think that it took time, and it took a conversation with her that I was fortunate to have years later to kind of realize why that was. We were at a school, there was a lot of tough stuff happening at that school. And the thing that upset me was that in the middle of the year, 4 of her students ended up in my classroom, and I was a first-year teacher. And I'm like, I already have too many students. Why do I have your students now? And she thought that I like took her student. There was this misunderstanding, and it was from the administration that this happened. But I left that school, and then years later, Kim came to TBLS, and there was like this kind of icy thing in the air that we never acknowledged. And then after my crash and my injury, I was going through a lot of just like reflecting on like what there's all this like unresolved stuff in my life that I had to resolve. And that was one of the things I had to resolve, was to have this conversation with her and just kind of clear the air and be like, look, we were kids and we were both struggling to figure this out. And I just now, I've been thinking a lot in the last couple of weeks as I knew this moment was coming, and just thinking that something Wasif said was, you know, we never know who we're going to lose and under what circumstances. And all of us kind of carry this unresolved thing probably with one person or another. And the like very small amount of good that I can take from losing Kim is just knowing that, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, we were able to just reconnect and like really understand each other and recognize how we were both in this journey together as teachers. And I'm just really appreciative that we had that moment. And then after that, had a lot of laughs and just a lot of like what we should have had all along. So I don't know what else to say, but it's really great to see you all and to hear all of these beautiful stories. And I know Kim would appreciate everything you have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Caputo. We have time for a few more if you would like to raise your hand. I see in the chat it's been blowing up with people sharing memories and really nice words. Kelly, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I also graduated last year. My first semester of college, I had a freshman writing seminar, and that class was actually really difficult for me because I was taught by Miss Nguyen sophomore year and senior year. And I like starting from sophomore year to senior year, I enjoyed like all of my English classes at TBLS. But for some reason, Miss Nguyen's like specific stories always just brought so much diversity and so much like just new themes and like new discussions in the classroom that I just enjoyed going to English class, no matter like what time of the day it was or no matter how my day was going. And I wouldn't consider myself like a very loud person usually, but I always found myself screaming in Miss Nguyen's class and her yelling back at me. And it was always about like some discussion about some book. And there would be times that Miss Nguyen and I would disagree, and she would never tell me that my opinion was wrong. And she would just tell me to bring more details out the book, or she would start bringing details out the book. And it would be some of the best time. And she's like, Kelly, well, you need to come up with a different idea. And I'm like, I'm trying, Miss Nguyen, I'm trying. And so she just made me like look at books and just enjoy them a lot more and just actually find out that there are like more authors in the world and more themes to explore, and books can be fun for everyone. Like they were always an enjoyable experience for me, but I think Miss Nguyen really helped me untap something, especially when it came to reading books. And so like the mix of like my growth with reading like different books and reading, just writing my own stories. Miss Nguyen was really there for me along with like most of the teachers in the English department. And so Miss Nguyen made me like realize that it's okay to feel things for books. Like analysis isn't always facts. Sometimes you just have to put your emotions on the page and what the book has taught you, and the writing that you produce is sometimes way better than just trying to find the exact meaning of what the author is telling you, but like what you take away from it and what how it helps you grow. And Miss Nguyen's like classes just really made my day and just made me grow into a better person, I would say, who cares for a lot more things in life and like just try to understand a lot more. And I think a lot of that is like thanks to her. So thank you.
Julia.
Hi,
everyone. It's nice to see all of you, and I miss all of you. I just wanted to share really quickly. So I also bonded with Miss Nguyen, like so many others, when we were at school really late, and she was always like, "What are we doing here? Why are we here all the time?" But it was also like my favorite memories of her and some of the best times. And we also always bonded because for most of our time together, we both taught sophomores and seniors. So we had a lot of the same students. And even when, you know, you guys were getting senioritis and we were trying to keep you motivated, you just always knew if she was like, you have to hand this in. Why haven't you done this yet? Like it just always came from a place of love. And I just wanted to share really quickly. I was looking at my last text with her, and she said, so I just want to share. She said, this was before the start of last school year. She said, I was feeling really hectic and sad about school starting again, and I was in the worst mood for like 2 weeks, and then something just happened, and it's going to be okay. The kids are worth it. And then she was talking about like how trying to embrace the fact that we're not always in the exact place in our life that we want to be in, and you know, the circumstances aren't always perfect and they're not always what we want. And she literally said, but we have to make life worth it. And I think she always did make life worth it. And the fact that all of us are here and sharing these memories with her speak truth to that. And I carry that with me. And I just, for all of the Discapuli who are here, even the ones who are saying like, oh, I didn't talk to her that much, or I wish I had had more with her. She just loved all of you so much. Even when you drove her crazy, she loved you. So keep that with you, because that's what I keep with me.
Jocelyn.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Espinoza. I'm at another school right now. I taught with Kim at our first school. And I would like to thank you all for extending an invitation to us that no longer work with Kim, but it was nice to be part of this and nice to be thought of. So thank you so much. And I would like to just say that we are all so fortunate to have met Kim, because I feel like everywhere that she went, I think one of the recurring things is whether you were a coworker or a student, is that she just sprinkled love and joy everywhere. She was like the happiest person ever, no matter what. Sometimes when I'm not feeling like my best self, I think about stuff that she would just say to me, like, "Espy, you're just so fabulous. Come on, why don't we go get some coffee or some chips?" She would always think of the best ways to cheer anybody up, whether it would be with stickers or with hugs, or just in her very genuine Kim ways that only she knew how to cheer people up. And I think we're also very fortunate to have had our lives touched by her love and joy. Thank you all.
Mr. Sheffer.
Thank you. I've heard such amazing things from everyone who's spoken so far, and for myself, coming to TBLS for the first time last year, and finding out that this would be one of my co-teachers, and coming from a background where I did not have much experience teaching. She was a fabulous person to work with and to learn from. And any time, like one time that always comes to mind for me personally is whenever I would lead a lesson in our class together, and I always felt like maybe I said something and I'd look at the students and be like, I probably didn't say it very clearly. I probably didn't do it very right, because everyone is looking at me with confused looks on their faces. And at the end of class, we would always have our like debrief real quick, and I would say, I feel like I really dropped the ball, blah 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 blah. And then this as everyone has described already, this teacher moment, this person of care and love would come out, and she would say, no, everything was fine. They will be fine. Will you be okay? Right? Always checking to see if me or the person she's talking to is okay. It's very similar, like what I heard another student say earlier in today's meeting. It's like, what do you want to say? What do you think? Right? She had that special power, that special ability to really bring out the best in you, even when maybe you didn't see it in yourself. And it's moments like that that really come to mind for me. And I will always miss her. Although my time with her was not nearly as long as many other people have had. Thank you.
Jack.
Hi. I'm Jack McComb. I graduated last year, class of 2020. I also wasn't really planning on saying anything, but I just thought it was like important to highlight like just how great of a teacher Miss Nguyen was. Even for someone like who like didn't always like have like the tightest relationship with her, like I wasn't as close to some of the other people that were here, but I had her as my sophomore year English teacher. I had her for advisory in my junior year, and I had her again as an English teacher in senior year. So I got to like have her and be around her for a long time, and it was a great pleasure all the time. Like every time, like it was such a welcoming environment and such an engaging environment too. And I think I said that in the chat, but it's like I felt excited to read the books I wouldn't normally be interested in reading. Like Eden mentioned Paradise of the Blind. I read a lot of like fantasy and fiction, and that was such an amazing book, and she really helped highlight like through the tools like of analyzing the work we read. It developed a greater appreciation, I think. And she always did really cool creative exercises to help us better appreciate the work we did. And I think it's a big, when I found out she passed away, I just thought it was a big loss in the school community that such a really engaging and also supportive teacher wasn't there. And like, even when I was clearly having a bad day, like even if we didn't have those close one-on-one conversations of it, she picked up on how I was feeling and checked in on me, and that meant so much. So rest in peace to Miss Nguyen, and I'm glad I got to have her as my teacher.
Thank you, Jack. We're going to go to our final two. So we're going to go to Adam, and then Miss Billy is going to speak.
Okay. Hi. I'm Emma Kopp. I'm from class of 2018. I'm borrowing my friend's computer for this. I had Miss Nguyen in 2014 for my sophomore year. It was her first year as well. And she came in with a bang. It was the kind of first day you have where it's going to be something that you look forward to. In 2014, I was having a rough time, and that was my first year that I got an IEP. So my mom had a meeting with each of my teachers to discuss what that looked like for each class. So she met with Miss Nguyen. And the other teachers, they handled it, very seriously, as was appropriate. But Miss Nguyen came in and spoke with my mom and was excited. She was really excited to make things work. And I think they spent a lot of the 40 minutes just cracking jokes with each other. But that was the kind of person she was. She was honest, often brutally so, but mostly to tell people that she was proud of them. And that's really
something that I admired about her. And, even when I didn't have her as a teacher for the rest of my time at TBLS, she still made sure to say hello to me, to go out of her way and check in with me, which I know she did for a lot of people. And if there's anything to be said about Miss Nguyen, it's that she had big shoulders to carry all that love and all that light.
Thank you, Emma. Ms. Billy?
Salway, and I wasn't sure if I would speak either in these spaces. I don't think I do too well because I'm a natural feeler, but I feel strong enough to greet everyone because it just truly feels good to be in your presence. Everyone being here, all the people that contributed and shared, we thank you for taking time just to be present and celebrating Kim in this way. To all the facilitators, thank you so much. You really created an amazing experience for everyone to feel safe and to create joy and connection. And look, Kimmy is still creating that, and she's not even physically here for us. And it's one of the things that I truly miss about her in the present. But I look forward to being in the spaces with you guys again to share and to continue to speak about the memories and the good times and the laughs as we continue to connect. I can't believe it still. And, a year like we just had, it's been quite the year. And I'm just grateful that you guys are here and that we're still standing and moving forward. And to all of you members of the class of 2021, we will see you in June together. And we'll celebrate together this year. And that is something to look forward to. So continue to work hard, everyone. And remember, the counselors are here, standing by, ready. You all have your McGeestry that are here and present as well, as you can see, sharing in this with you. And reach out, lean in, and stay connected. I love you all. Stay well. And you guys I haven't seen in a while, you look amazing. It's so great to see you. Welcome home. Welcome home. Stay safe. Mr. Thomas, I'm tossing it back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Billy, and thank you to everyone. Again, Mylan, Naya, Ms. Beater, all of you guys did so great today. Thank you for all the memories, for reading the excerpts. If you look in the chat, there's a lot more memories and, good vibes going. I want to thank everyone for coming. I have a really short story about Miss Nguyen. I was trying to think about what story can I tell about Miss Nguyen. There's so many of them. My second year at TBLS, she used to wait for me to leave the building, and I used to stay there really late, and I would always see her pop into the atria to scene 101 if I'm still there, because she always wanted to ride to the train. And so I would give her a ride to the train, and there was on 106.7 Light FM, for those of you who know that, I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys came on. And Miss Nguyen and I, just naturally just started singing it, especially that chorus, right? Tell me why. And, with your Miss Nguyen, you guys all know about it, you just get lost in her exuberance, right? So here I am driving to Pulaski Bridge, we're both going back and forth. I'm Brian, she's Nick, or, whatever. And then boom, almost again into a car accident because we were just so lost in the Backstreet Boys song, right? Because it's the Backstreet Boys, who isn't lost in that, right? But, that was her, right? That sort of fun loving, and she really could just make you smile on the worst day. I would need her to fill out a Google form, and then she didn't, and I would come in stomping like Miss Nguyen, blah, blah, blah. And then she would, come on, boo-boo, and I'm like, okay, everything's cool, you're right? So and I think that's sort of like that playfulness, and it's sort of something that we should always take with us for sure, right? And looking at this community of the people who are here, we have former McGeestry, we have alumni, current to Skips, current McGeestry, and it's this is really like the TBS family and the community. So I'm really thankful that one, you haven't unsubscribed from my emails, and two, that you guys showed up for this. I know you guys are busy. It's a beautiful day outside. But remember, Kim always loved that, right? All the beauty outside. So definitely look into that. Thank you for coming today. Reach out to us. You know, we want to hear from you. We want to connect, and hopefully in a few months, you know, we can all really start connecting in person soon. Thank you so much. Wale te omnes.
Thank you.
Hey.
Bye.
Wale.
Wale te.
Wale te.
Haven't got to say this in a whole year. Wale te omnes.
Oh my God, that's true.
Can't believe I got it wrong. Said Wale.
Wale te.
No, you're saying Wale to each of us individually. That's what's
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Eden. All right, I'm gonna see y'all.
We'll be seeing you.
Hi, Tenzing.
Bye, Miss Billy.
I missed you, Tenzing.
I miss you too. You already know.
I miss you more, Miss Billy. I miss you more than he does.
No, I miss Miss Billy more than all of you.
Listen, I was so hyped to see you guys.
Fact. That's a fact.
You guys stay safe.
Yes, you too.
And to
Stay
answer
safe,
your
everybody.
question, Anastasia, I'm going to London. So yes, international school gang.
Oh, curious.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.